I gotta remember how I do this.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start it. Hey, everybody. This is Jen, and we've got Mark here. And this is going to be just a pretty informal Infusionsoft training for our group that is in our automation mastermind group. So I wanted to make sure that, we kind of added this for you guys. All of you are using Infusionsoft, and it's really important for you to be comfortable with Infusionsoft for sure. And I read a post this morning, Mark, you may have seen it as well, from somebody in our Monkey Pod group who was just kind of at her wit's end with Infusionsoft. And she's new. And the idea I think that a lot of people struggle with Infusionsoft is that it can do virtually anything you want it to do. And that's hard to wrap your head around. And Mark, you and I, in the very beginning, when you and I started working together, that was something that I really struggled with, because I would ask you like, oh, I want to do this. And you're like, it'll do that. And, the one challenging thing I think with Infusionsoft is because it does just about anything you need it to do, there's not instructions on how to actually do it, because the basis of Infusionsoft, I think, is understanding like the big components and then knowing that it's going to let you do a lot of these things. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely do. And there's certainly a reason that that Infusionsoft's nickname is Confusionsoft. That's absolutely, I think, unfortunately, a well-deserved nickname. But kind of the way that I always approach Infusionsoft and Infusionsoft training is it can do everything, but only focus on the parts that you want to do right now. And if you kind of approach it in that manner of, okay, I want to market to new customers differently than I market to existing customers, which was a question that Ed had asked, and I think it's a great one and we should dig into. If that's all you're trying to accomplish, just focus on how to do that in the system first, and then worry about the next task. So create yourself a priorities list and just put that in the order that you want to accomplish them, and then just chip away at it. So it's kind of like climbing a mountain, right? Just put one foot in front of the other, knock things out as they come up. And if you sort of approach Infusionsoft that way and don't let yourself get overwhelmed by all of the things that it can do and just focus on what's right in front of you, I think that will help a lot of people just in terms of preventing some of that overwhelm.
It's really that whole same strategy that we talk about with anything, whether it's building, a new product or whether it's building your landing page. It's one thing at a time, get your head wrapped around the one thing you have to do. And that's how, and I mean, you guys, I build huge campaigns that do a lot of different things, and I build them one piece at a time. It's build this. When it's done, then we move on to the next piece and the next piece, and, and add all the connections once we have it built. And so, it's kind of like I put my pants on one leg at a time too. And, it's the only way that you really, I think, can tackle this and get comfortable with it, because I know that some of these things seem repetitive, but the repetitiveness of it is also important, because I think it helps you to really, really troubleshoot what you're doing. And, there's a couple of things that I always forget to do when I build in Infusionsoft. And now I know that I forget to do it because I don't do it that often in the campaigns. So when I know that that's going to be a component in the campaign that I'm building, I make myself big notes on the canvas in there to remind myself, you always forget to do this, make sure you do it. And so, and we've got, all of you have, and Susan, I think you have access to this too. And if you don't, I'll make sure you do. All of you also have access to the program that we did called Evergreen Cash Funnels. And in that program, there is a huge checklist that I created that I actually built it for our team. And when I realized that other people wanted it and needed it, I stripped out all the MyNAMS stuff. And I went through and said, okay, this is how I build my opt-in funnels. I create the landing page. I create the web form. This is how I hook it up. This is how I create the thank you page for it, so that it's just step by step, so that you don't forget a step, because,
I was going to ask you that actually. where,
Mhm.
you know,
So
where
yeah,
to,
it's
where to
there.
go to. Yeah,
And I'll look in your.
I do
Okay.
have, because I remember buying it,
Mhm.
actually.
And it's a really good spot to actually look at the funnels piece of this. And you know, that was one of Ed's questions, was creating the funnels, and that's what the basis of that program is about, is creating those funnels. And so we'll go ahead and get started real quick. Susan, I actually wanted to work on your stuff first, because I think that everybody's going to benefit from this. And the main thing that you needed, that I understood, so correct me if I'm wrong, we were ready to get your lead magnet hooked up on your website in Infusionsoft.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously we haven't finished the lead magnet itself yet, but I have been still working on the page, right, that we had gotten started.
Yep.
Actually, I wasted a whole bunch of time last night trying to get the menu off of the bottom of the thing. I don't think I can.
Okay.
So.
So there were two things that I had remembered specifically about your site, and if we're changing direction here, that's fine. But this should be valuable here for everybody else. What I remembered, and you put it back. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen really quick. And Mark, you jump in and tell me if you completely disagree with what I'm doing. My feelings will not be hurt, especially since you threw me under the bus when we were in Atlanta. All right, you guys can see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So Susan, also, do you have the URL for your actual landing page? Is it live yet, that I can pull it up on my screen?
Where you are is live.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had another, like, for your free.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, the landing page itself. I do not have it published, so let me.
Okay, if you'll publish that really quick, and I'll have both pages pulled up. So where I was going to go with this for you, Susan, was I believe that if we remove this opportunity for people to subscribe right here on the sidebar, that we're missing out.
I can't see two things.
Okay.
If you take off that opt-in form, you mean, to subscribe? Is that what you were talking about?
So what I'm saying is this on my screen right here, on this, I think that you would be missing out if you removed this.
Oh, okay.
And but it doesn't mean it has to necessarily look like this, but using this sidebar here, I think is really going to be important for you.
Yeah.
What I would do, if this were me, what I would do is I would actually create a really nice looking ad here on the sidebar.
Yep. I was thinking about that.
People to opt in right here instead of sending them over to a landing page and then having them opt in on the landing page. Mark, do you agree with that?
I do. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And so this actually.
So then it wouldn't go to the landing page at all.
Not here. Now,
right. That's what I'm saying. From here, it wouldn't.
Right. Okay. From here, but the thing that's going to be really important to accomplish this and to have it converting really well is to make sure we take the best pieces of your landing page, which is probably going to be your really powerful headline and a really big benefit, so that it's like this no-brainer for them to click right here and opt in.
Yeah.
And so this
other thing, so the other thing that had come up, which was the other reason, or maybe it would end up being the same thing, but they're not going to, the whole idea was not to have them putting their email, having the form, excuse me, to fill out their email right on the page, that there should be a pop-up or something like that. So you're still planning on doing it that way.
Yep, that's why I wanted you to have your site live, because I want to show you how you can do that.
Okay.
And so what essentially the way that this would look is you'd have your great headline here, you'd have a benefit or two here, and you'd have a button that says subscribe now or whatever we use.
Yeah.
That button will have your landing, will have the web form behind it, so that it just pops right out. They can enter their information. They never leave this page to actually enter their information. And so that's going to be something that's technical inside the page builder that you're using. I can't remember what page builder you use, but
I was actually using the optimized press one.
Okay. So you should probably have the opportunity to select on your buttons whether or not you're going to put a link or whether or not you're going to put HTML behind that button. And if you put the HTML behind the if you put the HTML behind the button, that'll just pop out the actual opt-in box.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I saw where it had the I don't know about here, but I saw on the other page.
And so the thing is that
link.
if you're using the same lead magnet here on your sidebar and on your landing page, this is actually going to address a question that Ed had as well. And so I'm just going to jump over really quick and show you what I've started here in your Infusionsoft app. So if this were me, what I would do is I would create 2 web forms because I would want to know which one is converting better. And I would create a web form that is specifically from your sidebar. And I would create a web form that's specifically in your landing page. Mark, do you agree with that?
I do, absolutely. Okay. And are you going to, that was what I was going to ask.
You put a whole thing in there, didn't you?
So what I would do here is in each of these sequences that follow the opt-in, I would set the lead source as wherever this particular opt-in is coming from. So Jen is on the way to do that already. She beat me to it. But that will just allow you to be able to search by how many conversions are coming in per source. And I would actually probably apply a tag as well that just tells you the same thing.
So I'm going to just put some notes here. And I'm kind of just overviewing here how this would look. I want to make sure it's right before Mark goes into like OCD. He likes everything to be nice and straight.
Well, I know you're going to move that sequence down 1 block so that it lines up in between the middle of those 2, right? There we go.
Yeah. And so the whole purpose of this would be when this is live and it's published, you can actually go to your reporting feature here, and it's going to tell you how many people also submitted this landing page, this web form, and how many people submitted this web form. Because this is going to tell you a lot. If you, let's say that you get 100 people total that subscribe for this particular lead magnet, but only 10 of them are coming from this sidebar, that's going to tell us that we need to fix the sidebar, that the language in the sidebar isn't doing its job. And so when we create this web form, so what we would do is, so all you really want from people at this point is their name and their email, right?
Yep.
Okay. This little piece right here is the thing that throws everybody for a loop. So I'm going to talk about it here because I want to make sure that you understand this. This thank you page is what allows you to create a funnel inside Infusionsoft. And all a funnel is chaining page to page or page to second web form or whatever that may be. So you could just use the standard Infusionsoft thank you page, make it pretty, and say, thanks, I'm going to contact you shortly. That's really, to me, a waste of, this is the page that in theory is going to have 100% conversion on your website.
Right.
And so and it doesn't mean that you have to have a product here. It can be questions. It can be sending somebody to one of your podcasts that you want to make sure that they get on, or a blog post or something, but this would direct them to the next place. And so, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Jen is absolutely correct here. And I hate even the name thank you page. What it really should be called is a next action page. So in your business, Susan, and for everyone else, it's think about what makes the most sense to get someone to re-engage or take the next step in interacting with your business, right? What makes the most sense, whether it be a product, as Jen mentioned, or whether it be driving them back to one of your most popular podcast pages or something like that. But you definitely want to take this as an opportunity to solicit continued engagement with your brand.
The other thing I personally don't like to do here, I don't like to use this page to give them product access. And there's two reasons for that. One is because I want to email them their product access, even if it's a username and a password, because it means that we have engagement in the email. And it means that they're required to give you a good email address. Especially when you've got on this thank you page, you know, if you, however you design this, it should say whatever the action they just took will be in your inbox shortly. There are so many times I get emails from people on the help desk that are like, I gave you a fake email and I didn't realize that I was going to have my email to get the product. So here's my real email. And so that really does help. And it makes them then click on your email, which gives you some juice in the email deliverability world. So
not to mention that they probably, do you put a link in there for them to go get it, or is it actually in the
I do put a link. I do not use Infusionsoft to upload my documents or my PDFs because it's very difficult, I think, to change them out. So I typically load all my documents on Amazon S3, and then I do my download from there. And
I will say that, Jen, that is 1000% the way to go for you. If you are just getting started and you don't have several hundred products, which NAMS does, you absolutely can use Infusionsoft to digitally deliver content, at least while you're getting started. And I totally agree that going the Amazon S3 route is the ideal way to do it. But if you're just getting started and you don't want to jump through all of those hurdles, you can use Infusionsoft to deliver it.
Because I can also do a page on the website as well, right? Just send them back to a page. They have the download pages.
Yeah, but if you did that, you would still have to have a link for them to actually click.
Yeah.
And so to me, if I were going to use the link, I wouldn't waste my time building a page if I didn't have, and I'm talking about for a free offer, not for maybe a product or something like that, but for an actual free offer, I personally wouldn't waste space on my WordPress installation to actually create a thank you page to deliver a free product. That's my personal feeling. The other thing though, I do want to say regarding what Mark said is, from a professional standpoint, I would rather deliver the product using Infusionsoft than to deliver the product using a Google Drive link. There is nothing more unprofessional to me to get a download link from somebody that is a Dropbox, like that's this big, huge, long Dropbox link, or that is a big Google Drive link, personally. Unless it was like a coaching group or something where I'm creating like shareable docs so that you can use them. But from a straight up product delivery perspective, I would rather use Infusionsoft to deliver the product than to use a Google Drive link or Dropbox.
Absolutely.
Because the other thing is, you have to remember, especially in Dropbox, is that you've now got all these people hitting your Dropbox account. And I don't even have a big Dropbox account anymore. I just have the freebie one. So so this is where you would put your thank you page here. And the one thing to make sure that you note with Infusionsoft is you need to have all of this really, I think, set up and ready to go before you publish it and copy your code. Because when you copy the HTML code and you paste it on your site, if you make changes here, then you need to go copy it again and update it. So on the settings tab here, I personally don't use reCAPTCHA unless I am embedding the form itself on a page. If it's a button and it's pulling it out into a light box, I definitely don't use reCAPTCHA. I've actually had more people tell me that they've had problems using reCAPTCHA and it working correctly than not. So I personally don't use it, but it's a personal choice, you know, for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, I agree. It drives me crazy. I mean, I understand why people are doing it, but, and I have had the problem of giving a freebie away on a page where they just go right in and it ends up getting like 800 hits, but nobody ends up on the list. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And my only thought on that is I would enable CAPTCHA if it becomes an issue, but not before, because you're simply just going to decrease conversion rates, right? It's another hurdle that people have to jump through. So if it becomes an issue, then address it later on, but not at the outset.
Yep. So the other thing that I do here, and I want to make sure I explain this really well, because this will bite you in the butt, because it has bitten me a couple of times, is this field here about the duplicate checking. So the one thing you have to remember is, for example, Susan, if you were to opt into my list and on the first time you did it, you used Susan and you used your normal email address. The second time that you opted in on my list, you used Sue and the same email address.
Not likely, but yeah, okay.
But for
I know, I'm
example
just
here,
kidding,
is that would create 2 accounts for you in Infusionsoft.
Right.
And so if the only thing I look for is a duplicate email address to try to avoid getting those second accounts set up. And I don't use any of the rest of these. I learned this the hard way and ended up having a lot of different duplicate accounts. Mark, do you have any tricks behind this?
I always just use the email address.
Okay.
I think it's the simplest way to go about it. And I think, Jen, you are the exception to the rule here, where you have a lot of people that give you different email addresses. Maybe not the exception to the rule, but I know that happens to you a lot. I don't see that happening all that much with smaller companies. So my feeling here again is start with email address, and then if it becomes a problem later on, you can address it.
Yeah, and especially because I use a lot of third-party platforms as well that integrate with Infusionsoft. We like JVZoo and Warrior Plus and things like that. We have to really watch out for that. So this next little thing right here, this is, I call the feel good button. And this is the notification email section. You're going to see this on all of your all of your web forms. You're going to see it on all of your order forms. And when I want to feel really good about myself, I have it send a copy to me. If I'm having a bad day and I've just done a promotion and I want to know in my inbox really fast how things are going, then I go ahead and have it send an email to me here. You know, if you think that you're going to have, I don't normally do it on web forms, but I do it on order forms. And so I like to know what's happening, especially on my high ticket stuff, because if somebody buys a high ticket product, I want to know it. And I want to just like know that I need to go in and just check, make sure they got their access, you know, and things like that. And I like it because it comes to my phone. And so that's why I do that on order forms, especially higher ticket price products. So it's totally up to you, but that's what this section here is going to do for you. And then let's go ahead. I'm just going to publish this now for the purposes of this little demonstration. So we need to remember to take everything out of draft. That's like in Infusionsoft, it always has to get out of draft mode or else it's not going to work. And so we're going to come back out here and I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And you can see I've published this without even having anything back here, because all we're working on right now is just getting the web form done. And this is exactly how I publish mine, is I do the web form first and then I come back in. So we're going to go to edit. And I'm going to open my web form back up and I'm going to hit code. So the way that I use this, I prefer using the HTML unstyled code. I've used JavaScript snippets a couple of times on some of my web forms directly on my site. They are not 100% reliable. It really depends on what the person's computer looks like, You know, I've got some surveys that are embedded in my site, and sometimes people come back and say, oh, the page is blank. Well, they've been blocking certain kinds of code and things like that. So I really try to stay away from using the JavaScript. Mark, do you have any?
Well, one thing that I just want to point out that we should call out is the reason that Jen published this before coming back into the code is if you were to make some modifications to the design or the thank you page, the HTML will not update until you publish it. Mm-hmm. So if we then went back in and made some modifications to the way that actual element looked, this HTML here would not pick up those revisions, right? So anytime you make a revision, make sure that you go out and you publish it, and then you grab this HTML code.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, that is the beauty with JavaScript, is that the JavaScript code, it will update real time. It's just not 100% reliable based on what people's settings are on their computer.
Yeah, and HTML is kind of just the best way to go, I think, in my opinion. And the unstyled basically means that this HTML will try to replicate the style, the CSS of whatever page you're using this on. So that basically is just saying, hey, we're not going to have any stylistic elements here. We're just going to match whatever is already on that page, which makes it nice and easy to match the look and feel of the website you already have.
Yeah, and I will tell you, and this is like a little further advanced than I plan on going, but I will tell you, if you are in any way, shape, or form like me, where I know HTML, I can't write HTML from scratch, but I can hack the crap out of other people's HTML. I could actually copy this HTML code into like a notepad, and I could actually go in and change my button copy. I could change the size, I could center it and things like that, because the framework of the code is here. And so if you know just a couple basic HTML things, then, hold on, I don't know who this is.
Oh my gosh, are you guys hearing my dog bark?
Oh, I was like, who's Georgiana Eggleston? Hey, Melanie.
Hey, I'll mute myself. I apologize.
Okay. Okay. I was like, somebody's coming in here incognito. So anyway, so what I'm going to do, Susan, is I am going to copy this, and I'm going to put this in the chat for you. If I can figure out where my chat is. Oh, I guess I didn't copy it. That would probably help. Paste. Maybe it won't take. I can't put it in here. All right, let me put it in a new.
That's what I wanted to do. Okay.
Now, I am going to send this to you really quick. Okay. So that is your sidebar code. So if you want to, while we're here on the call, if you want to go in, I can move on to something else really quick, or you can do it later. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, where did you send it?
I put it in your Facebook Messenger so you would get it quick.
Oh, okay.
And so if you want to do that really quick and we can move on to something else, or if you want to do it after the call and show it to us, it's totally up to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So I'm going to put that in the.
So where you would, let me pull up a page.
Put that on my desktop.
So this is how you would do it for both your landing page and this lead, this sidebar.
Yeah.
Beaver Builder. I would assume your page builder with Optimized Press. It's been so long since I've used Optimized Press that you can just ignore, because I would not normally do this here. But for a button, so this is my button module, and let's just say subscribe now, and just pick a color so we can see it. And make it full width so we can see it. Okay, here we go. So under the general my general tab setting here on my button, we have click action. So you can either put a link in, a direct link to something.
Do you think you're showing that to me, or you're just saying it?
Am I not sharing my screen anymore?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, well, crap. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
There we go.
Okay, so I just created, let me go back in here. I use Beaver Builder. And so I just grabbed a button module. And I'm just going to do subscribe now. I'm going to spell it right. And let me just put a color in here so we can see it. I'll make it full size. All right. So typically on any button module and any page builder, you're going to have what you've got called a click action. So the click action here can be a link where we are just sending somebody straight to a link, or we can do, in Beaver Builder, it's called Lightbox. And when I choose the Lightbox option here, it now allows me to, I can put a video in here, or I can do straight HTML. So I'm just going to, for the purposes of this is your form code right here. I just pasted it in the box.
Okay.
So we can see here's the button, and let me go ahead and publish this. And so when I click on it,
right,
the opt-out box, it's just going to appear. So that's how I do this, is I use the Lightbox setting. That gives me the two-step confirmation, the two-step opt-in. So for you, on yours, if you want to come up with your really catchy headline here, a couple benefits, and then add your subscribe here and just put that code behind the subscribe button, then that will allow them to opt in directly on this page without taking them to a landing page to then make them read it again. Because if they've clicked it from here that they want to subscribe, you've got them. So why make them jump through another hoop?
No, I agree. No, that makes a lot of sense. I was trying to figure that out myself, how it seemed like a very convoluted thing to throw them over to the page.
And you're still going to want that landing page to use for social media and all that good stuff. And so you would just use the same exact setup there by using the button. But in your Infusionsoft app, what we've done now is you would just go in, and here's what I really would do. If this were me doing this, what I would have done is build this one exactly the way I wanted it. And then I would have duplicated it. Because that way you're using the duplication functionality and it alleviates mistakes.
I agree.
That's how I would have done it. And then I just would have changed my note here to from landing page. And just hooked it up. So the next thing though that Mark was saying was that what we want to do here is we want to know, are people coming from the sidebar? And you want to know that in their contact record, not just from a reporting functionality.
Right.
Mark, you're way better than I am at lead source stuff. Do you want to take this over? Or do you want to tell me what to do?
Sure. No, I can do it.
Okay. You want me to get out of this?
Yeah, I'll just pop in.
Okay.
And
let me stop sharing.
GF
536.
536. Perfect. And Let me share my screen here.
Thinking about it.
Mm.
I always think that Zoom and Infusionsoft don't play super nice together. I think Mark is frozen.
Yep. Yep. He's not blinking.
Nope.
I think that's the problem.
Oh, he just messaged me. He got booted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one thing. I did not do this very well to start with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark has really been working with me on this and on lead sources. And it's real easy to get stuck with lead sources, especially when it means needing a lot of different opt-ins and web forms to do that. But if you're doing something like this specifically, I would recommend taking the time, because this is really going to tell you a lot of conversion information. You know, long term, you may not need to do it, you know, but for the purpose of getting started, I would definitely do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. My computer boots me sometimes when I start sharing my screen, which I have no idea why it does that. But, all right. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So inside of this text opt-in campaign, I would do two things. So I would first have a lead source applied just on the contact record, but I would also use a tag as well, just so you're able to search by folks who opted in from a specific way. So this is going to be our lead source here.
Do you recommend overriding lead sources? Well, you just clicked it, so I'm assuming yes.
That is a really good question, though. Is if you don't have a really complex setup, then yes, I would overwrite, because then it's basically you are just looking at the last place that they opted in. And the advantage of using tags as well is it will catch if someone has multiple lead source tags, then that just means that they've opted in a couple different places, which I like as well. So, all right, we don't have this lead source in here yet, so we're just going to have to go back and add that real quick, but we can apply our tag. So this is our web form opt-in from sidebar.
And Susan, the one nice thing about tags is, like, we've created this one. If you decide you want to use this campaign, you can actually go into the tag setup and you can rename this, and it won't, it'll update anywhere that this tag is. It will update across the Infusionsoft app.
Okay.
All right, so to add a lead source, by the way, I'm going to come in here to this marketing lead generation, and then on this screen here, I'm just looking under lead sources, create lead source. So I'm just going to create two here really quickly. So this is going to be web form opt-in sidebar. I'm going to save that one. And come back in and create one more. So web form opt-in dash landing page. Perfect. All righty. So now inside of my campaign, I will have both of those available in that drop down. So you can come back in and update this lead source and have that be sidebar. And then I'm going to set this from draft to ready, and we're all set. So this sequence has now done everything that we want it to. And there we go. And this is what Jen is talking about. I cannot help myself but to update campaigns. All right, and then we're just going to do the same thing for the next one down. This is our landing page. Ready to roll here. And going to create a new tag for the opposite. So this is web form opt-in from landing page. And then, by the way, this I'm putting in the historical category, just so that will show up second underneath the profile tags that you have on someone's contact record. And there you have it. So that's exactly what I would do.
Mm-hmm. And then you're to, for 1 second, Mark.
I'm sorry?
Will you go back into, or open, make it bigger? Because it went really small for us.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead and do the deliver content campaign for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And if you will just drag a, I wanted to see if it's, I've never used it, so I don't know where it is. I guess open the email up. And if she were to deliver the content from here in the email.
Yep.
I guess just pull one of those up. Is it just a?
Yeah, so all you have to do is drag a button in here, and this would be like access your content or whatever you wanted that to be. Get a nice color. And then on the button type here, we would just select a file download. So you'd grab the file download, and then you can choose from all of the files that you have in your account, or you can just upload a file from your computer. So that's exactly what you would do, Susan, is you would just come here, click that upload, and grab it in here. And you can also, by the way, do the same thing inside of this text if you wanted to. If you don't like that big button in there, you can just do access your content. And then you can make this hyperlink to, instead of a URL, to a file download as well.
Okay.
So you have a couple different options there.
Perfect.
That's great.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to pull up Ed's question really quick. And so Susan, as you start putting this on your site, post all the links in the group so we can see it. And we can test it for you and all that good stuff.
Yep. Okay.
So let me pull Ed's question up.
And while you're pulling that up, what I'm doing here, Susan, is I'm just giving the opportunity to access this content 2 more times in the event that someone does not take advantage of it the first time around.
Right. That's what you had in that other one you dropped in.
Absolutely. So this is just the best practice in terms of making sure that someone has ample opportunity to actually download what you are offering them. And then all you want to do is pull out this email link click behind here, and then just call this downloaded content. And if you connect this, this is just looking back in here for any links inside of these emails. So if you double click it, all of these, this will show up as clickable once you've put something behind it. So basically you would just check mark that.
Yeah, and that means that the people will just get pulled out and they won't get those duplicate emails over and over again.
Yeah.
And the nice part is that you can then, you can put another sequence behind this and say, hey, thank you so much for downloading your content. Did you see this awesome tip on page 3? And it allows you to really then start like narrowing the conversation down with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And just to underscore that point, just like the thank you page, don't think that just because someone has downloaded the content that now you're done with them in this campaign. It should be, okay, they've downloaded the lead magnet. What are we going to do with them next?
Yep. And a lot of times for me, from a congruency perspective, I will use my first next communication with them is whatever I had on the thank you page. You know, so they're seeing it again. So let's just say that you put a piece of a blog content or a blog post there. You know, my next email would be, hey, thank you so much for grabbing this. And I saw you downloaded it. Did you get a chance to check out my blog, this blog post? And there's a ton of other cool things that we can show you regarding Infusionsoft. That is called web page automation. So that if, somebody then goes and clicks that blog post, we don't want to keep sending them to that blog post because we know they hit that page on your website, and so that's just how we start, but we have to start with this first, this is the first piece of it. And then we can start adding like all the really cool conversion techie tricks behind that.
Okay. Yeah. We
So I want to move on to some of the questions that Ed had. And, I'm not necessarily sure, Mark, if we might want to design a couple of these just quickly. And so we probably don't want to do it in Susan's app. Can we do it?
Well,
why not?
What I was thinking was that we should just pull it right from my app.
Okay.
So, and I'm assuming you're talking about new customers versus repeat customers. Is that what you wanted to look at?
So yeah, but I need to set this up a little bit first before because you don't know this about Ed.
Okay.
So Ed has a business right now that he's running, and it's straight about affiliate marketing. And so he is the affiliate on. That's not totally true. He's running products that are through a white label platform. Essentially, he's bought access to a bunch of lead magnets and a bunch of products. So his job is to create the nurture campaigns and to run traffic to it. The purchases occur straight through PayPal. So his purchases are not happening inside Infusionsoft. And I can't remember, but I think that he has got the platform integrated with Infusionsoft so that at least we know the contact records coming into Infusionsoft and that we can apply a tag to them in Infusionsoft. So for him, everybody else on this call, I think, in this group got Mark's tag structure. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time going over tag structure and naming conventions, but Ed, I'll just get your app ID from you, and then we'll drop this campaign into your app for you so you can see it. And, we can just create a quick little video to go with it. The thing I found that was the most interesting, I thought that would pertain to everybody, Mark, was what you said about buyers versus non-buyers. And so for Ed's perspective, we can use tags to do that. For a lot of other people that are in this group, they have got they're using the e-com app, so we can use product goals to do that. And so I think that's probably the first one. And then I want to move on to some of the strategy things, because you and I have gone over the strategies a lot in our own app that I think would be helpful for everybody.
Totally. So essentially what Ed wants to do, and I think this is a really good idea and it is relevant for everyone, is to understand how people are interacting with his business, right? So this is my Infusionsoft app that I use for my pool company. And so I've got the leads who are non-customers, so people that have opted in for something but have not purchased, and then the total number of new customers, and then the total number of people that have purchased 2, 3, and 4 times. You can tell I obviously need to work on these conversion rates, but at least I have this information, right? Which is a great starting point. So the way that I do that, and I actually need, I'll make, Jen, I'll turn this into a template because I think it's really valuable for everyone to have this essentially laid out in their app. So basically what I'm doing here is this campaign is just cycling people through and letting me know when someone is a first-time buyer versus a second, third, fourth, or what I call family. If you've purchased more than 4 times, you're family to us, right, as a small business. So basically what's happening here is that anytime any purchase is happening, doesn't matter what it is, what product it is, that's not what we're concerned about in this particular campaign. It's just if they have made a purchase, we're coming in to this campaign here. We're removing any prospect tags here. So I'm removing the lead tag, and then I am applying a profile Wild West so that I know that they belong to this business. And then I'm applying an active newsletter tag to them.
So wait, before you leave that, go back into that for a second, because that actually answers one of Ed's questions, which was, if we have different businesses that don't that don't overlap, is there a way we can separate the two within one Infusionsoft account? So for me, we went to this model about 6 months ago. We changed all of the branding in our Infusionsoft app. It is no longer mynams.com. Our branding is now NAMS Inc. because NAMS Inc. is the parent company that owns every one of our smaller doing business as. And so in order to send out content that is relevant for the business that they purchased through, for example, I created my email templates for NAMS Toolkit that have the NAMS Toolkit header and our logo in it. For mynams.com, they have a MyNAMS header in that email. And so what I do, where you see that Mark has applied a tag here that says Wild West, what I do is I apply a tag that is a NAMS Toolkit tag, that is a MyNAMS tag, that is, we have an Isogenics business, so is it Isogenics tag, so that we're sure that we're only routing the right people into the right areas of the business that can directly pertain to them. So that's how you can use Infusionsoft to have multiple businesses and really kind of separate your branding. But the app itself is owned by one company. So that's why we had to go up a level, and we had to go to our parent company on our total Infusionsoft branding and just use our NAMS Inc., which is our big main parent company.
Absolutely, yeah. And so you could, if that was the case for any of you guys, you could basically just have, this would be a Wild West tag management after order, or this would be a NAMS Toolkit tag management after order. And then you would just copy the campaign and then just make sure that the entry point is specific for whichever business that you are setting this up for. And the way that you could do that is, this is currently looking for any purchase. So you're going to have this product purchase goal, and this is essentially saying, okay, this is any purchase, but if you guys wanted to set this up, you could have a product in a specific category purchase. So Jen would have NAMS Toolkit and MyNAMS and all of the other businesses set up here under a category. And so that's how you would be able to differentiate that.
So yeah, and before you move away, I want to show, there was one other little trick here to this, because this is directly going to apply to Ed. And I want to run all of my buyers on Warrior Plus and on JVZoo through this as well. And because they're buying on a third-party platform, they don't necessarily hit this order goal because the product's not being bought inside Infusionsoft. So Mark, if you'll drag a couple of tags over. So what I do is anytime I sell a product on Warrior Plus, the entry point for that person coming in, they get a Warrior Plus buyer tag. And same thing for JVZoo. They get a JVZoo buyer tag. And that, when that tag is applied, then that kicks off the entry point into this campaign for me as well. And so for Ed, for you, when you sell one of your products on your third-party platform and it integrates into Infusionsoft, you would want to make sure that you're applying the tag for that business here, since you're not actually completing the order inside Infusionsoft, so that you can get people into this.
Yep. And so all you would do is you can have as many different entry points as you want. So as Jen's talking about, she has different platforms. This would just be her Warrior Plus buyers tag. This would be her JVZoo buyers tag. And she would just pull in and just have different starting points, but they're all ending up in the same bucket here.
Yep. And Melanie, this would actually apply for you as well with your Use Your PLR business, your Excellence Business Academy clients, and also your MelanieDavis.com coaching clients as well. You can do the exact same structure here so that you can manage all of your products and your customers in one place.
That's awesome. And you guys are going to put this into our apps?
Yes, I'm going to basically create a boilerplate version of this. So this campaign is obviously very specific to my pool business, but I'll kind of anonymize it or you know, just remove Wild West and create a template and then drop it into your app. Absolutely.
Awesome.
And Mark, what I may do when you do that is I may just record a quick video on some best practices things too.
Sure.
So that, because we're doing a ton of work with this particular campaign in the NAMS app right now. And it's based on, honestly, it's just based on some conversations that Mark and I have been having about how to better reward certain behavior from customers, you know, and people who buy more or are more engaged, you know, and also how to better engage with them as well.
Yeah, so really briefly, let's go through this and just explain a little bit of what's happening. So essentially, if someone comes in here for the very first time, they come in and get those tags, and then this decision diamond is saying, okay, how do you want me to route people? And I have this set up so that the decision diamond says, if they don't have any of the tags that I'm watching for, then that means that they haven't bought before and they're a new customer. So they flow right into this top one here. And inside of here, all I'm doing is I'm applying a Wild West customer tag and a Wild West new customer tag. So I consider someone a new customer if they have made one purchase, right? But they're also just a blanket customer at this point, right? So they fall into both of those categories. Now they have made a purchase from me, but it is the first purchase. So that's why I've got this new customer tag in here as well. And then to loop them out of this campaign so that they can come back in. And this is where Infusionsoft gets a little bit complicated, but if I am in this sequence here and I meet this goal and you want to route someone down to the second time that they've purchased, if I'm just sitting in here, that won't happen because the campaign will think, oh, that person is already in this campaign, so I don't want to do anything with them. I need to just ignore the fact that they just made a second entry point goal. So what we have to do is called an infinite loop. And that basically means that one of these tags that I've just applied is a downstream goal here. So if you see this tag, new customer, well, I just applied that new customer tag right here in that sequence. So basically, that tag is getting applied here, and then it's immediately achieving this goal, which is pulling me out of the sequence, and effectively means that I am no longer in this campaign. And that allows the next time the purchase comes through for me to restart. So I know that that's a little bit complex, but that's in general how we need to treat people that come in. So then the second time I purchase, I'm going to come in and hit this decision diamond, and this decision diamond says, okay, well, where do I send them now? And if we take a look at this, so this is the rules for new customer for that first sequence. If the contacts tags does not contain customer, meaning they've never made a purchase with us before, we want to send them to new customer. But repeat 2 orders if the contacts tags contains new customer. So that would mean that they'd made 1 purchase and now they've just made their second purchase. So what we're doing inside of this second order sequence here is a couple things now. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to remove new customer because we're no longer considering them as a one-time purchaser. And then I'm just going to wait for 1 minute and I'm going to apply a profile 2 orders tag here. And then same thing with that loop. This end goal is now 2 orders. So I have just updated their status from a new customer to a 2 orders customer, and then removed them from the campaign so that they're eligible to come back in for a 3rd time. And the 3rd time is doing the exact same thing. This decision diamond is saying, okay, if they have a 2 orders tag, that means that they need to come into this slot. I'm going to remove the 2 orders and I'm going to apply the 3 orders, and so on for 4 and then 5.
And this looks really complex, and it is complex in some sense. But the one thing I want everybody to really understand is that once you grasp the concept of infinite loops on tags, it can do so many things for you in your business. I set up a campaign so wrong. When I showed it to Mark, I swear, I think he was like, Jen, really? This is what you just did? I set up, so for our Insiders Club meetings, we meet every Thursday, and we wanted to send reminders out the Wednesday before and then 30 minutes before the call. The first campaign I set up, I created an entire year worth of notifications. Well, Mark was like, why didn't you just do it like this? It's one email, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, and we just use this infinite loop concept so that we run people through, we remove a tag, we reapply a tag, now it kicks back off, and it waits until the following Wednesday to send them another reminder email. And so I use infinite loop tagging now in so many of my campaigns because I finally understood it. And this is a great way to schedule recurring webinars that you may be doing, or any task that you have that has to be handled on a specific set time. Even if it's just a task in your app or a meeting that you might be using. This for me was one of those concepts that I never could get my head wrapped around. And so when we talk about Infusionsoft being able to do a lot of things for you, but you don't know what you don't know, this is one of those things. I think it's a huge time saver in a lot of different areas in the app.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know we're running up on time here, but I want to just take this one step further, right? So now I know if someone has made 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 purchases, well, how am I going to put that into practice? What am I going to do with that information? Obviously, it's important that I have that information, but it is equally, if not much more important, to apply that information into trying to generate people coming back, right? Repeat sales. So I have this campaign, lead to customer to repeat customer. And that's exactly what this campaign is intended to do. So I'm not going to templatize this campaign because it's very specific for your business. But essentially, what it boils down to is here are all of my lead magnets. So if someone signs up, they're going to come in here. Here's a long-term nurture, and here's if they're already a customer. And this is just pulling them out if they make a purchase.
So now, wait, before you move on, go back up.
Sure.
I want you to talk about this decision diamond here, because I think this is also one of the questions that Ed was specifically asking about treating people differently, whether they've bought or not bought. And I know that you're handling this right here in this decision diamond.
Absolutely, and that's a good call out, Jen. So here, this is a long-term nurture that's just, runs for a little while, and it basically treats someone as if they don't know who we are, right? So we build a little trust in this campaign. We talk about general tips for pool maintenance, for things that you should be watching out for. We just generally, generally try to make ourselves useful and build trust. Now, if you're already a customer and you don't buy within a day after requesting a coupon, I assume that they already know us. So this email is much more like, hey, Susan, you requested a coupon, but you didn't buy. Why not, right?
Because I don't have a pool.
So good to see you again. You didn't use your coupon code, need any help. At any rate, I made a new one for you. And then Carl is my fake director of customer service. So Carl does not exist, but people reply to Carl all day long. So Carl is just in there building trust with people in the long-term nurture, and if they're already a customer coming in here. And what this decision diamond is looking for is just, it's really simple. Do they have a customer tag or not? So if they're already a customer, if the contacts tags contains Wild West customer, I know that they're back for another time. But if they're a new lead and need to go to the long-term nurture, if the contacts tags does not contain Wild West customer, then they're a new lead and need to be sent into that area.
Right. And so in using those as the entry points into the campaign, and also using those tags as a goal in the campaign allows you to, on the front end, route people to where you want them to go. And then on the back end, pull people out once they have become a customer. And so Mark uses, because he has, his business is an e-com business. That's what you're seeing here about the API. That is, in my business, mine becomes a shopping cart, the little shopping cart icon over there in the sidebar or under the campaign tools. It's either a shopping cart or a tag. And so it's either that one or the tag being applied that meets that goal. And for Mark, he's just looking outside of his app and saying, oh, it's looking at my e-com store and saying if the purchase was made. So for, I think the purposes of everybody here in this group, you're going to be looking for a tag being applied or a product purchase goal being applied.
Right. So you would just swap out this API goal for, as Jen said, that shopping cart or that tag, and that's what's going to kick this off.
Right.
So as I said, this is a little bit more complex for my business because there's a status where it either gets shipped or it gets refunded because the inventory count was off and we can't send it, blah, 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 right? But you could just have one of these. And in essence, what I'm doing here is I'm skipping automation if they are in that 4 orders or 5 orders category. So I designate people that fall into that category as what I call a big fish, right? And I've heard people use a whale tag, etc. But it's basically that person is important enough to your business that you do not want them experiencing automation. They don't get Carl anymore, they get Mark, they get the real person, right? So if my big fish tag is applied, this is an infinite loop right here. And all this does is it waits 40 days and then it sends an email directly to me that says, hey, you need to check in with your big fish, right? And it'll have their phone number and their email address right in there. And I'll just call people and say, hey, it's Mark, how's it going? Do you need anything? Can I help you, etc. And it's just that personal touch. But I don't want to get there until someone has done a significant amount of business with me. So this will skip if in this decision diamond is just looking for that big fish tag. If they have that tag, then I'm pulling them out here and I'm just basically blocking them from entering the automation. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, and well, if you'll jump back one level and go back to the actual campaign list for a second. I can't remember what you call that, where we do the orders.
Tag management?
Yeah.
Click in here?
Yeah. I wanted to just tell you really quick kind of what we're working on, because I built this not knowing, and this is why I want you guys to understand this, the basics of this, because at least building it with nothing more than just the number of orders that they have created is going to benefit you long term. And so that's exactly how I built mine. Wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to use this campaign, but I knew that long term, knowing this information was going to be really important to me. So what Mark and I have been working on now is we're saying, at what point in our funnel system do we no longer want to talk to people about $17 products or about $20 products? At what point do they become a person that we want to start talking to about boot camps, about the Insiders Club, about, one-on-one coaching, any of those kinds of things? And so being able to use this structure here allows us to then go in and send them into different places based on now how would we want to follow up. You know, nobody on this call that is in this group right now, technically, do I want you to be looking at a $17 product of ours anymore? You know, what I want you to do is, because A, you probably already have all those in your account. Now I want you to be communicating with us based on what it is that you're doing. You're in this group. So now we need to be communicating a little further about what your progress is and, you know, what the next steps are and things like that. And I wasn't clear. I've had this running now in our business for almost a year, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And we've just now started getting this narrowed down. So I wanted to just make this point that this is really important. Even if you don't know what to do with it just yet, collecting the data is important.
Absolutely. You guys are all the big fish.
Right? So let me make sure. I think we had one last question here. I know you've got another call here, Mark, so I don't want to.
Sure, yeah, and I was just going to finish up this.
And I need to go have coffee and breakfast.
I just wanted to finish up this point real quick, which is that, so basically, if you make that purchase, this is just looking for which tag do you have the new customer, the 2 orders, the 3 orders, the 4 orders, and I'm just treating people differently in all 3 of these, or in all 4 of these different categories. So this is essentially my post-purchase long-term nurture, where this is Carl talking to them and saying, hey, how's it going? What can we help you with? And I do different things in each of these strings, these campaign sequences. So here, I'm just providing another discount for them, a coupon code, but here I'm actually giving them store credit. And then here I think is an email that comes from me instead of Carl, and it says something like, oh, hey, Carl told me that you're back for the 3rd time. I just wanted to reach out. I'm the business owner, and thank you for being here. Let me know if there's ever anything that I can help you with. So it's basically just pattern interrupting and communicating with people differently based on the amount of times that they've done business with you. So Melanie, I think this is really applicable for your business as well. If someone has come back and purchased 3 different buckets of PLR modification, then that's probably someone that you would put in your big fish bucket, and you would want to reach out to them every 30 days or so and say, hey, Mark, have you got your next round of PLR ready for me? My team's all set up. We're ready to go whenever you are. Just things like that.
Yeah, and that's a great opportunity for you too, to be like, hey, you know, I could really save you a little bit of money here if you join the VIP program, you know?
I'll share
Absolutely.
something interesting with you too. Had a meeting with Tamika yesterday, and we've fine-tuned and got her stuff ready to go. And she said, can we talk? So we had a short little talk, and she said, I guess I'm going to need to hire a VA to do XYZ. And I said, we would be able to help you with that. I've got a team.
Right.
And she's like, oh, that's so great, because that way I don't have to try to find somebody and trust somebody. This is great. So it's interesting how there can be such an overlap.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so, Mark, are you done with this?
I am.
Okay, I just want to make sure I address one last thing that we haven't gotten to with Ed. And there's 2 things I actually wanted to talk about we haven't made it to on this call. And so I'll just record a Loom video and pop it in the group and just show you guys something that I've been working on. So Ed said,
you can turn the water on. Sorry.
Ed said, do we need to keep a map of what we build? This is a great question, because I would highly encourage you to have some kind of working document outside of Infusionsoft, especially if you're going to have a lot of lead magnets and if you're going to have a lot of products. Mainly because once we grew to a point that we had a team, it was all in my head. And so every day somebody was coming to me and saying, where's that landing page? How does that product link together? What's the upsell for this free report? And so I've showed it a couple times on the Insiders Club call. This will be one of the videos I create for you. And I have a copy of this spreadsheet, a clean copy that I can give all of you. I use a Google Sheet, and all I do is just map in my Google Sheet, what's my lead magnet, what product does it, what product does it lead to? What are all the different products in the funnel? And what is the Infusionsoft campaign name that it all lives in? So that it's easy for me. I have 300 campaigns in my app. And so I have to be able to do this. And it wasn't until it got out of control that I had to get it under control. So I would really encourage you to like get it under control before it gets out of control, because it becomes one of those things you guys have probably heard me talk about. You know, I get overwhelmed and I go watch Netflix. This was like perfect example of me just being like, I can't deal with this. And what happened is, what was great though, was when Mark came on board with us, I was able to give him that document. And so it had, here's the landing page, here's what the products are in the funnel, and here's the Infusionsoft app that it all lives in, so that we could share that information back and forth and he could easily find it and understand kind of what we had. So I will do a quick Loom video of that spreadsheet and include a copy of the clean spreadsheet for you, so that you guys can use that in your structure and setting yours up. You don't have to use a Google Doc. It's really whatever's easiest for you. I like spreadsheets, so that's what I use.
I really, really would encourage everyone to do that now.
Thank you.
You will be happy you did a year and a half from now, when you've got a million things going on and you've got it all perfectly organized.
I can't wait to have to pay a lot of taxes. I'm looking forward to it.
There you go.
Me too.
No complaints.
Right. And so, I will, I've got a couple other meetings this afternoon. So I will get these other 2 videos recorded either late this afternoon or tomorrow morning. And I'll just pop those in the Facebook group so you can have them. And I'll put a copy of this video in the Facebook group as soon as it's done processing.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your time.
Oh yeah. And just be sure that you're posting things in the group so we can look at it and I can make quick Loom videos for you and direct response. And so we can test things for you and all that good stuff.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right.
Absolutely.
You guys have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.